wonderful faces and names. We are here to celebrate you. Before I start, I just want to welcome everyone into the space. I'm coming into the space, just a few minutes ago. And thank you for making a choice to be here in this celebration. And we are celebrating each and every one of you. And I want to shout out Natasha Green for putting this together and inviting me here. So as you know, my name is Hena Ali. My current role for the Office of Safety and Youth Development is as a supervisor of social workers. I came into this role a little bit unconventionally, not as a social worker, but as a district coordinator for one of the initiatives from OSID. That's short for Office of Safety and Youth Development. And then after social work school, I was in foster care work and then came into the DOE. Shortly after that, I decided that there needed to be a bridge between education and social work. I went back for an additional master's in education, and then this program came about. And so that's how I am here. And that's how I show up on my educational level. So NYU for my master's, my bachelor's at John Jay. I wanted to work in the prison system and work on disseminating the school to prison pipeline. So when I heard about this presentation and the topic, I really struggled with how do we bring hope, right? So I heard Beacon of Hope, and I know that we all carry the torch. And I wanted to bring myself into the space and to share a little bit about me outside of the titles and the education. So, I identify as being a child of an incarcerated parent. For many years up until my late teenage years. And so when we talk about hope, I begin to remember that that was a critical part of my coping, right? So hope was a strategy that my family and I had to have because the reality was just far more difficult to accept. And so the anticipation of something changing was the hopefulness, right? And so I share that because we all show up here with something other than waking up and making a choice to go to social work school and be social workers. We all come with ourselves that we don't walk away from. And that shows up in how we talk to teachers and students and families. And we often don't have the space outside of just using the title of being social workers. We ourselves are not brought into the space. And so I grew up oftentimes hearing let's hope it works out, Hena, or let's hope and see. And I remember feeling fine, for a lack of a better word, despite the traumatic circumstances, because there was something we anticipated for the next time, right? Whether it was the next trial hearing or the next time I saw my dad, there was this hope that something was going to change. And so when I was asked to speak here on all of us being beacons of hope, I visualized all of you. I visualized all of you being the light that shines in the darkness. Now more than ever is a very public visual of the pandemic and everybody going through a really difficult time, our school systems, all of us personally, but somehow we still show up, right? Somehow there's this underlying expectation that all of you and all of us have to show up and be okay. And so I want to ask you to reflect on how often you find yourself saying, let's hope these things change, or let's hope, let's trust. And then you can fill in the blank, right? I hope XYZ happens. My point here is that we depend and we live on hope. We depend on all of you to be the hope that lights the way for us and our communities every day. And the unique gift that all of you have is the gift of creating that hope. For others, for school systems, for teachers, for students, for families, for yourselves, and for your own families. And it can come in very different ways, right? We know that all of you have different roles, whether you sit on IEP teams or you're deployed or you're in D75, 79, traditional schools. You guys encompass so many different arenas. And I often find that you guys don't often see how you light the way because you're in the work. And I just want you guys to take a moment to really understand and commend yourselves on that phone call that you make when you tell a parent, hold on, I'm going to call you back because let me go get that referral, is you holding the torch to an opportunity that they would have otherwise not been able to experience, right? So like parents don't often know what's outside in the community. And you being able to say, hold on, I have an idea. I'm going to go get that. Or when a student is really struggling emotionally and you just somehow shift that conversation, that is you carrying the torch in a space that people can't see. And so I really, really, really want you to recognize that your work is so powerful and so meaningful. And the world just wouldn't be lit without you. And the talents that you guys all carry in the different arenas of the social worker world that you do is different. And especially during these unprecedented times, I find that our roles are shifting, right? So like you might sit on an IEP meeting and be responsible for that, but then you're tapped into something else, especially now with how our school systems are ebbs and flows of what's going on right now. And the stress levels are high. And I know we talk about self-care and we talk about make sure, you take care of yourselves, and you find that I want to just validate that the pressure of having to have it all together because you're social workers by title, it doesn't go away, right? And so we tell you, take time to breathe, go do your nails, go get a haircut, but the expectation remains the same. And I don't have the magic cure. I just wanted to say, like, I get it and I validate it. But that is why you guys chose this work, or I should say that's why the work chose you. Because despite your title and your education, you would have still been fulfilling that somewhere. And so I just thank you for making the commitment to our students and our school systems, for doing that and showing up every day despite the chaos and the world's falling apart, because you are still the glue that holds it together. And sometimes we don't see that the small successes are successes, and we need to celebrate everything, right? So a student that's not engaged, that sends you a thumbs up via text, like that's a success. Because he or she has not spoken to anyone and he made the effort to respond to you. A teacher that has been failing students because they don't turn their camera on, we know that has been a trend, and you were able to have a conversation and the teacher was just like, okay, fine, if they submit extra work, I'll work it out. That is the success, right? And that is being the beacon of hope for the student getting a better grade, or for you being able to reverse the attendance for that day because you connected with the student. And we don't always see that because it's always about the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is important, but it takes a lot of really, really small steps to get there. And so we can sit here and we can talk about all of the wonderful roles that you guys do and how different it is and how similar it is. But I want to leave you guys with this. We are the flame. You guys are the flame that's needed to keep this system going. And as cliche as it may seem, in my heart, I truly believe that we light the way for each other. The world is big, but it's really small. The system is small. We will all see each other again. We will all connect in some way or form. We all know each other through some connection. And when we find ourselves losing that light because we can't see it, tap into each other. And also tap into what brought you here, your why, right? I don't know if you guys have had opportunities to do trainings that really speak about igniting your flame and why you show up every day the way that you do. And we lose sight of that. Monday, we can say, today, it's about the kids. I'm going to show up and I'm going to do the best that I can. And by Friday, you're like, how many days do you need before I resign? Like, what's the protocol here? Take a breath and just remember the why. The why gets lost. But we need you. We need you to be grounded. We need you to refuel from each other, from other things that keep you going. Tap into that. So when you are fulfilled, you can lean into the work very intentfully to move the students that we support. I spent a significant time talking about, how all of us are the beacon of light, but I really, really, really ask you to dig deep into your own identity, into what ignites that, and have that come up in your work for you, right? So like, I was a child of an incarcerated parent. So for me, when we talk about discipline and we talk about the student can't, and all the barriers, like that's me showing up for that student. And there's a part of all of us, I truly believe that, that shows up in all of our students. So hold on to that when you do your work, when you feel like you don't know the purpose, right? And we have that. Like there's days that you're like, I feel like a machine, and I'm not sure how I can move the work on a larger scale. And stay grounded and stay true to that. And just remember that you are not just your title. You are not just those 4 letters that come after your name. You are a whole story that shows up. And yeah, remember that. And I stay in touch. I did not have a fancy PowerPoint. I really just wanted to come in and talk to you guys from the heart and introduce myself and the program, and share my contact, which Natasha will do. You guys can, reach out with any questions, comments, anything. I am happy to talk to any of you.